So let's tee up, George, on this, and Chris, you can chime in. Of course, this is taken from, this information's all over the place, but I'll give due credit to War Chant because this is where I'm pulling this up. We've got win totals coming down from DraftKings. Florida, I'm guessing Billy Napier's not going to see all those games played if they're at 4.5, because that's not going to get it done. That schedule is brutal. Miami sitting at 9, Clemson 9.5, and Florida State at 9.5. And I'll make this one point, George, before you dive in on this, is what was interesting to me when the previous win totals were released, and I forget, that might have been FanDuel. Florida State, Miami, and Clemson were all 9.5, but also the odds tell you a lot because they may say 9.5, but they're really wanting to push the public betting in one direction. So they'll really swing it in one direction. But all three of those schools, according to FanDuel's at least, the odds were almost equal. So they think it's going to be a heck of a race in the ACC.
Yeah, there's a lot of perception out there because, of course, Miami beat Clemson this year. And when you look on paper at the recruiting rankings, Miami has a pretty good roster. We won't get into my opinion. We ain't got enough time on that. But, yeah, it really does. When you look at Miami's schedule, it's pretty favorable. So I could definitely see one of those three schools or two of those three schools making it to the ACC championship. But I could also see Miami just stubbing their toe in another school like an NC State or somebody sneaking their way in. I guess I'll just believe it when I see it when it comes to that.
There you go.
As far as Florida, that stinks. I mean, they were at 5.5 wins. Now they're down at 4.5. That's pretty tough. Like I'm curious what Chris thinks, but like I'm leaning more and more towards Florida winning that week 1 game over Miami, and you see the difference there, and that win total is basically schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest with everybody. I think we just did an entire breakdown of the big three on Monday's show. James, Chip, and myself on Spear Addicts, and a lot of people. If you go look at what I dropped last year and I dropped the year before that, and I put out my win predictions, I give it a ceiling and floor. But we broke it down on why I came up with what I came up with. Chip does have Miami going 10-2, and I can see that happening. It's just they would have to beat Florida that first game for them to get that 10th win, in my eyes, and also them not making that slip-up game that they do every year. I'm just doing that based off of the past 22 years. It's not that I'm trying to troll Miami. I don't like Miami at all. The University of Moral Gables is not somewhere that I care for, but I will not be dishonest. They have a very good roster. I've never questioned does Miami have talent? That's never been a question. Miami always has talent. The issue that they have right now is game day coaching. I don't even think it's an issue with how they prepare. I don't think it's a problem with their game plan. I think it's once they but when they get into situational football, their coaches make grand mistakes. I'm not going to keep bringing up not taking the knee. It's just the facts of the past 22 years since you have entered the ACC conference. You joined in 2004 with Virginia Tech. So in the past 20 years, you have yet to win an ACC title. You have won the Coastal once, which was in 2017, and then you got blown out by Clemson. So I'm not picking on Miami. I am just basing it off of the facts of the past 20 years in the ACC and the past 22 years since you've had one 10-win season in 22 years. So I have a hard time believing you're just going to bust through the double-digit wins this year based off of you added a quarterback that was brand new to the situation, whereas you had Tyler Van Dyke the previous year. You were telling us the following year, which was last year, that he was going to be the top Heisman contender. And I'm going to be honest with people. Tyler Van Dyke was not Miami's problem. They can say it all that they want, but that's the problem. It's not. Your coaching staff is the issue. You ran the same 8 passing plays for the majority of the year. And all you did was to flip the sides, like if they went in or cut out. So that is not on a kid because they have no options He's not fast enough to take off running, blah, blah, blah. Cam Ward is definitely a more athletic quarterback. He will get them out of jams, but there's only so many jams that you can ask of a quarterback to get out of. So I've got them going 8-4. So it's below what they've got up here as far as the projections go. And poor Florida. I don't think that they're going to fire Billy Napier this year, no matter what he goes, even if he goes 0-12. The reason I say that's because his buyout's $30 million. And what coach is going to want to come in for that exact same schedule the following season? Like, that's setting your brand new head coach up for failure. And I don't know many of them that will take that on. So I think you get him this year and next year, and maybe midway through the year they fire him, and then they have an interim head coach. As soon as the season's over, they go hire Lane Kiffin. That's I'm telling y'all, that's what they've been geared for some time. I think I predicted them to go 5 at best. 6-6 was the best that they could do as their ceiling. 2 wins is their floor. So somewhere in between 2 and 5 wins is what I projected for Florida. I think UCF, where James and Chip thought UCF would not beat them, I think UCF comes in and pounds away at the Gators, to be honest. But we'll see. So that's my ideas or my outlook on what the Big Three is going to do this season.
Well, Chris, I got to say that you're being kind in saying that Miami's got a slip up every year. They basically have a month of slip ups. They've got 3 or 4 of them. I just went through, and not that this is going to shock anyone, they've lost 8 games since 2020, or since Manny Diaz took over 2019. 8 games to teams with losing records. So that doesn't even include a lot of pretty marginal 7-6 teams that they've lost to as well.
I want to be clear. Like, I don't think they're bereft of talent. I think Chris hit the nail on the head. Like, yeah, they're talented, but they were talented last year and the year before. People are wanting to act like all of a sudden this year Miami is just twice as talented, and now they're going to make a title run and stuff. Like, no, they're going to be talented, more talented than all that maybe 3 teams they play all year. But what Chris and Mark just alluded to, they're going to lose to somebody, and after that, you're going to get a month of F-ups. But maybe not. Maybe he's got the culture going, and even after they lose to somebody, they can keep it together. But like I said earlier, I'll believe it when I see it.
We will definitely continue this conversation through the summer in regards to the Big Three in state, or the Big Four, if you want to include UCF. We appreciate Chris being here from Sphere Addicts, Den Media Group with James, George with the Renegade Report,